This video is for the real number system. And so remember, we can classify numbers. So all of our numbers, they're either going to be real numbers. Everything is going to be a real number. And then from there, all of our numbers will either fall into one of these two categories, rational numbers or irrational numbers. And so the ones that are the long, crazy decimals that don't repeat, that don't have a pattern, those are our irrational numbers. If they're rational numbers, we can keep going. We can keep classifying them. So they can be integers, they can be whole numbers, or they can be natural numbers. And so it says use the completed diagram. So let's do that first. So again, all of our numbers are real numbers, and they're either going to be rational or irrational. And then from there, we have integers, whole numbers, and natural numbers. And the only difference between natural and whole numbers is 0. 0 is a whole number. It is not a natural number. So -2. -2 would fall in the integers category. 3/4 would fall into the rational number because it is a fraction and only a fraction. And then sometimes we have to type them in. So we've got the square root of 2 over 2. And so you can see here that I get a long, crazy decimal. And so that means this one is irrational. 292 is a natural number. And so just a reminder, if it's an integer, it's also a rational number. And it's also a real number. So all of these are also real numbers. And so if it's natural, it's also a whole number. It's also an integer. It's also rational. And it's also real. So that one has a lot of names. So -19 over 3 is a repeating decimal. Now, I know it's got a negative sign, but because it's a decimal, because I've got these decimals out here, that makes it rational. And then here we've got 6.969669666. So you can type this into your calculator. So the next one would be 9666, 4 of them. And you can do, if you're not sure, fraction to decimal. And so you can see that it did not change it into a fraction, which means this one is irrational. If it does change it to a fraction, then that means it's rational. And so the same thing down here, we can classify all these numbers. So 0 is a whole number. The square root of 75 is an irrational number. If it's a repeating decimal, it's a rational number. 95 is natural. And then the square root of 205, long crazy decimal, so it's irrational. -76 over 4. When you put that one in, it simplifies down to -19. So that's why you always need to type them in to check. Because if you would just go off of, well, it's a fraction, it's rational, you would be wrong because it's an integer 2. And then the square root of 121, again, it simplifies down to 11. So this one is natural. And then -2/9 is rational. So it says place an X on one number from each set so that the set meets the given classification. So for this one, I need integers. So 0, 2, and 3 are all integers. And then so I've got to decide between a -1/2 and -4/2. So -1/2 is a decimal. -4/2 is not. And so -4/2 is an integer. This one is not. So now I need whole numbers. So -1 is the only one that's not a whole number. And then rational numbers. So the square root of 16 is a whole number. The square root of 20 is an irrational number. And so that's the one that I can eliminate. And then counting numbers are the same things as your natural numbers. And so you can simplify these down. So 15/3 is 5. 24/3 is 8. 45/3 is 15. And 56/3 is a decimal. It's a repeating decimal, but if it's a decimal, it can't be a counting number. So that's it for this video.